Case number IT 9725I, the prosecutor versus Milorad Krnojelac.
Thank you. We may now commence with this hearing. As you know, this is the initial appearance of the accused before the International Criminal Tribunal for the former Yugoslavia, and it is being held in accordance with the tribunal's statute and rules of procedure and evidence, formally to charge the accused. Mr. Milorad Krnojelac, could you please rise and state for the trial chamber your name, date and place of birth, and the name of the attorney whom you have chosen to represent you?
Milorad Krnojelac, rođen 25. jula 1940. godine u selu Birotici kod Foče. Advokat će me zastupati Mihajlo Bakrač. A danas gospodin u ovome slučaju Tomo Fila.
Thank you. Thank you. You may be seated. Could I please have the appearances for the prosecution?
Yes, Your Honor. Terry Bowers.
And Tej Thapa.
Thank you. Mr. Fila.
Sude, ja sam Toma Fila, ja ću samo danas zastupati gospodina optuženog na prvom pojavljivanju. Hvala.
Thank you. Now, as you know, the purpose of this initial appearance, and I have just said this formally to charge the accused, the trial chamber is required to ensure that the indictment is read to the accused in a language he speaks or understands. If he waives his right to a public reading of the indictment, the trial chamber must in any case satisfy itself that he understands the indictment. We are then required to call upon the accused to enter a plea of guilty or not guilty on each count. If the accused fails to enter a plea, we are required by our rules of procedure and evidence to enter a plea of not guilty on his behalf. In the case of a not guilty plea, we will instruct the registrar to set a date for trial. In the case of a guilty plea on all counts, we will instruct the registrar to set a date for the pre-sentencing hearing or any other appropriate dates. Now, I would like to ask defense counsel, Mr. Fila, whether he and his client have received copies of the indictment in a language that they understand and whether the contents therein were understood.
Vaša visosti, optuženi je dobio ne samo optužnice, nego i sva prateća dokumenta koje mora imati, to su statut i pravila ovog suda. Ja sam danas obavio razgovor sa njim, on je potpuno razume optužnicu, ne želi da mu se čita cela i on će se najkraće izjasniti na pitanje da li je kriv ili nije. I potpuno je razumeo šta mu se stavlja na teret. Hvala lepo.
Thank you. Mr. Fila, then I understand that you had adequate time to confer with your client in preparation for this initial appearance. Now, since, as you said, you are waiving the accused, after consulting with you, is waiving his right to the public reading of the indictment, I will now recall each of the 18 counts against the accused. Mr. Krnojelac, could you please tell the court whether you plead guilty or not guilty after I have put the counts to you? The form of words we wish you to use is either I plead guilty or I plead not guilty. Have you understood this?
Razumio sam vas potpuno, slavni sude.
All right. I will start now with the various counts. Count 1. A crime against humanity, persecution on political, racial, and/or religious grounds, punishable under Article 5H of the Statute of the International Tribunal. How do you plead?
Izjašnjavam se da nisam kriv.
Thank you. Count 2. A crime against humanity, torture, punishable under Article 5F of the Statute of the International Tribunal. How do you plead?
Izjašnjavam se da nisam kriv.
Thank you. Count 3. A grave breach, torture, punishable under Article 2B of the Statute of the Tribunal. How do you plead?
Izjašnjavam se da nisam kriv.
Thank you. Count 4. A violation of the laws or customs of war, torture, punishable under Article 3 of the Statute of the Tribunal and recognized by Article 3(1)(a) of the Geneva Conventions of 1949. How do you plead?
Izjašnjavam se da nisam kriv.
Count 5. A crime against humanity, inhumane acts, punishable under Article 5(1) of the Statute of the Tribunal. How do you plead?
Izjašnjavam se da nisam kriv.
Thank you. Count 6. A grave breach, willfully causing serious injury to body or health, punishable under Article 2C of the Statute of the International Tribunal. How do you plead?
Izjašnjavam se da nisam kriv.
Thank you. Count 7. A violation of the laws or customs of war, namely cruel treatment, punishable under Article 3 of the Statute of the International Tribunal and recognized by Article 3(1)(a) of the Geneva Conventions of 1949. How do you plead?
Izjašnjavam se da nisam kriv.
Count 8. A crime against humanity, namely murder, punishable under Article 5(a) of the Statute of the Tribunal. How do you plead?
Izjašnjavam se da nisam kriv.
Thank you. Count 9. A grave breach, willful killing, punishable under Article 2(a) of the Statute of the Tribunal. How do you plead?
Izjašnjavam se da nisam kriv.
You count 10. A violation of the laws or customs of war in the form of murder, punishable under Article 3 of the Statute of the International Tribunal and recognized by Article 3(1)(a) of the Geneva Conventions. How do you plead?
Izjašnjavam se da nisam kriv.
Thank you. Count 11. A crime against humanity, imprisonment, punishable under Article 5(e) of the Statute of the International Tribunal. How do you plead?
Izjašnjavam se da nisam kriv.
Thank you. Count 12. A grave breach in the form of unlawful confinement of a civilian, punishable under Article 2(g) of the Statute of the International Tribunal. How do you plead?
Izjašnjavam se da nisam kriv.
Thank you. Count 13.
Molim.
A crime against humanity in the form of inhumane acts punishable under Article 5(i) of the Statute of the International Tribunal. How do you plead?
Izjašnjavam se da nisam kriv.
Thank you. Count 14. A grave breach in the form of willfully causing great suffering punishable under Article 2(c) of the Statute of the International Tribunal. How do you plead?
Izjašnjavam se da nisam kriv.
Count 15. A violation of the laws or customs of war, namely cruel treatment, punishable under Article 3 of the Statute of the International Tribunal and recognized by Article 3(1)(a) of the Geneva Conventions of 1949. How do you plead?
Izjašnjavam se da nisam kriv.
Thank you. Count 16. A crime against humanity, namely enslavement, punishable under Article 5(c) of the Statute of the International Tribunal. How do you plead?
Izjašnjavam se da nisam kriv.
Count 17. A grave breach in the form of inhuman treatment, punishable under Article 2b of the Statute of the International Tribunal. How do you plead?
Izjašnjavam se da nisam kriv.
Thank you. Count 18. A violation of the laws or customs of war, namely slavery, punishable under Article 3 of the Statute of the International Tribunal and recognized under the Slavery Convention and international customary law. How do you plead?
Izjašnjavam se da nisam kriv.
Thank you. You may now be seated. After the conclusion of this hearing, you will be remanded to the further custody of the International Tribunal and held in the detention unit until further order is made. Could I ask the registrar to please note the pleas of the accused? As the accused has pleaded not guilty to the charges against him, it is necessary now to consider the organization of the work of the trial chamber and the setting of a date for the trial. I wonder whether the registrar is able to set a date for the trial now.
Yes, we are.
Can you indicate a date?
Maybe after 60 days preliminary motions, and then we can set a date.
So therefore we will await your confirmation. Now, of course, I don't need to remind both the prosecution and the defense of their obligations. In particular, the prosecution, as we all know, has the duty to make available to the defense within 30 copies of all copies of the supporting material, in addition to what has already been handed to the, of course, accused, namely you said the statute and the rules of procedure, but what is needed for the defense to receive from the prosecution is the supporting material, namely the material which accompanied the indictment when confirmation was sought, and all the prior statements obtained by the office of the prosecutor from the accused. Of course, we all know that and I am sure that Mr. Fila and the prosecution are fully aware that no later than 60 days before the date set for trial, copies of the statements of all witnesses whom the prosecutor intends to call to testify must be made available to the defense. I will not go into details on this matter because we are all familiar with these rules. May I ask now the prosecution if any such documents have already been provided to the defense? If not, if the prosecution may indicate a date by when those documents will be provided to the defense, the supporting material for the indictment.
Yes, Your Honor. The confirmation material consists of approximately 47 witness statements. They have been redacted with regard to the other defendants accused in this case, and they are ready to present to counsel. We would just request the court to issue the protective order with regard to those statements before we actually physically transfer them to the defense. But they are prepared and can be turned over as soon as the protective order is in force.
Sorry, what sort of protective order? For the redaction? Authorizing you to redact the statements, or protective measures?
It's pretty much our standard protective order with regard to the witness statements that the defense receives, that they will only use those in connection with the preparation of the defense and not disclose them to the media. It's the same order that's been issued in prior proceedings.
All right, so we will do so as soon as possible, maybe today or tomorrow, so that upon receiving this order you may then be able to disclose all this material to the defense.
Absolutely, Your Honors.
So by when? Say by next Monday, perhaps?
At the latest, hopefully sooner.
Or sooner, wonderful. So, Mr. Fila, you have taken notice of this pledge by the prosecution.
potpuno se slažem da se ne obelodani, vi znate moj stav oko tih obelodanjivanja i objavljivanja u novinama pre nego što svedoci govore. Znate i u onom slučaju onog svedoka, vrlo visokog funkcionera, sve smo pročitali u Beogradu pre nego što je svedočio kod nas. Tako da sam apsolutno saglasan da to treba da postane princip ovog suda. Što se tiče vašeg materijala, ja sam ovlašćen da to primim u ponedeljak, bez obzira da li će kolega Bakrač doći ili neće, jer je problem oko viza. Uobičajeni problem. Ali ću ja primiti u njegovo ime i to nema nikakvi problem. Tako da, što se brzine tiče, sve će biti u redu. I slažem se da se zakaže sada datum, ali nemojte pre polovine septembra, i mi imamo dušu, sudija treba da se odmora i branioci.
Yes, we too, actually, we judges, because we are working very hard, and I assume this also applies to the prosecution. So generally speaking, so you would be prepared to proceed to trial. Of course, I assume we can't set a date for trial now. It's very difficult.
Your Honor, just for the court's edification, this is a fully prepared case. We do not anticipate any significant amendment of the indictment. At the most, we would be possibly dropping the Article 2 counts to expedite the trial. It's fairly straightforward, and we're prepared to proceed whenever the court wishes.
I see. Therefore, I think we should now think of a status conference. We should try to set a date for a status conference, and so that on that particular occasion, which will be held in closed session, of course, as you know, on that particular occasion we could make all the necessary arrangements for the beginning of the trial, which, as Mr. Fila rightly pointed out, in any case cannot start before mid-September. Also because we have so many other cases. We are sitting on we are trial chamber on, we have 6 cases now. And probably, so we any suggestion about the date for the status conference?
Nema problema, koji god bude tužila što htelo, ja se slažem. Obezbedit ću, kolega će doći. Znači, sud, neka odredi sud kako sud misli, sve u redu.
We would like to suggest a date which may be then set later on for mid-August, in the second part of August. Because at that stage probably your colleague, a date for the status conference, not for the beginning of the trial.
Izvinite, vaša visosti, ali Italijani imaju Ferragosto, zato se smejem. To je da vaša, izvinite vam.
I know.
Okay, u redu.
I know, but you know that we will start a new trial, Kupreskic, on the 17th of August. And we will go on, I think, for 4 weeks in a row sitting on Kupreskic. So no Ferragosto is 15th of August. So therefore it is, we are sticking to the Ferragosto celebration. I wonder whether between 17th of August and the 17th of August and the end of August, this status conference could be held. You don't have in principle any opposition. We will let you know in due time, maybe in 1 week, which particular day is more convenient. All right. Any questions? Any comments? Any procedural matters? I wonder whether my colleagues have any question to raise. No. So therefore, all right. So the hearing then may be adjourned. The hearing is adjourned.
All right. Veuillez vous lever.